Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Too Obscure for TV podcast, where me, David, and our current guest host, Mr. Thomas, the cameraman, the gearhead, the man who shoots nothing but film all day, every day, talk about some really hard-to-find movies, maybe some hidden gems, some cult classics, or just utter schlock. And this week,
we have a mixture of everything.
Yes. We got a little bit of everything this week. This is a movie that I brought to the table called Freak Out. It is a really hard to find and super obscure British horror comedy film from like 2003, 4, something.
I think it was 4, yeah. When I looked it up, yeah.
Yeah, it was 2004, and I exposed it to you guys today.
I do feel exposed.
Yeah, we're very exposed. That's a perfect description.
No kidding.
Of what you put us through.
Yeah, why don't you describe, because what we've watched today is halfway between like the comfort of eating a really greasy cheese pizza and the horror of looking at a body in a dumpster. That's
what
how
analogy is that?
I don't know. It's like there's laughs, we cried out of terror, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why don't you describe to the listeners what exactly this movie is?
So,
because I'm sure nobody's heard of it.
Oh yeah, I have had this movie in my collection. Oh sure, of like just schlocky movies for like a decade, and I've like mentioned it to people, and nobody has any idea what it is when I talk to them about it. But basically, what it is, it's these guys in England, they were leaving film school and they're like, hey, we're going to make a movie, you know, and we'll throw it into the festival circuit. And they kind of realized they couldn't make a good movie because they didn't have a lot of money nor a lot of know-how as to make a movie. So they made this. And it's about this kid named Merv Dooley who happens to find a escaped mental patient and realizes he could train him to become the greatest serial killer of all time. And with his help of his friend Anki, they do that, and it becomes this weird slasher, comedy, horror, Rocky montage where there's spatulas, there's some Dallas references, there's salami being shot out of leaf blowers, there's bum feeling, and os piranhas.
And Sam Raimi references too.
Lots of Sam Raimi.
And camera work as well.
It's good stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you guys have never seen this movie before, I'm assuming?
I didn't know it existed.
No?
No, this was, when Dean and I started the podcast, this was one of the movies that he really lobbied for us to put on the schedule. And
I just wanted somebody else to have seen this movie. That's all I needed.
I slowly began to realize that suggestion would kill the podcast if we ever actually tried it.
Maybe.
But no, this show has really given this a good vehicle. And I feel like jumping out of the vehicle, but certainly it was entertaining. Why don't we...
I just want to know your guys' first reaction to watching this movie, because we just finished watching it 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
How... We'll start with you, Thomas. Mm-hmm. You know, you're a man of class. You know, you're a man of know-how.
Yeah.
A very, very staunch, camera operator. You want to know the details of the film. What did you think watching this?
Mostly confusion.
Mostly confusion?
Well, your favorite movie is Mulholland Drive, so that's kind of
one
right
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I guess you're right. That's one of my favorites, and so I guess that it fits. A different kind of confusion, but confusion nonetheless. But I was entertained. I wasn't bored.
That's a good place to be when you're in the bad movie category. I'm not bored.
Yeah. To me, this is one of those movies where it's bad and then it just keeps circling around and it reaches good again. Like it's bad good, as I like to describe.
It's that thing where it jumped off the cliff, but it hit that nice water slide that shot it right back up.
Yeah. It came around to the other side.
Oh, all right. Well, was the point that you realized this was great was when they were in the mall?
Yeah, it was the mall. It was the which I thought was the finale, which I guess was part of it.
Yeah.
One half of the finale. I just noticed the production quality went. It's kind of skyrocketed at the end, and I was just wondering, how did they do this? Because yes, at least over here in the States, in my experience, malls, even when all the stores inside are closed, they'll stay open for a while.
Yeah.
Before, like early in the morning and like way after it closes. There's always security walking around. So my guess is, what was the budget? It was like 50 grand, I think.
Yeah, 50 grand, 30 pounds, I guess, for like their stuff.
Yeah.
I did the little calculation. It's about $38,000 US.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
But
all right.
again, stretched out over 4 or 5 years. So.
Yeah.
So my guess is that everything shot in the mall was maybe they knew someone security that worked in the mall, and that's how they got to shoot in the mall because there's no one in there.
Oh yeah, they this was the weirdest thing because it looked like Dawn of the Dead where they had the cleared out mall, no one was there. Like I always was under the assumption they just paid somebody like $100 and said, "Yo, like just leave the back door open."
Yeah,
it's cool.
They had a smoke machine in there and everything.
Oh yeah. But what about you, David? First experience. You've been over there like quietly contemplating what's been done to you.
Contemplating is the right word. From the opening of the film, which is textbook for beginner, like a flashback opening, to the end of the film, which, like Thomas said, I thought happened 4 or 5 times, but that honestly falls in line with a lot of movies that are professional.
Yeah.
And not at all to disparage this and say it's not professional, because I think it's weird. There were certain moments in which we're sitting on the couch and we get caught up in like the jokes.
Yeah.
And as I was embarrassed to admit, the plot of this movie for whatever it is, and it's fascinating how you can see the moments and the days of making this film that were really fun and brilliant for them, and then the moments and days where they had no fucking clue what to do, because I kept wondering too what the script for this looked like, and then I reminded myself there's no script for this movie.
I don't think there was. I think we watched a little bit of the featurette, like what, 5-10 minutes,
something like that.
Yeah. And I think at some point, I think it was the actor that played the sheriff. He was reading the script, I think. That's what I think. And it didn't look like it was that.
I think he made a comment. He's like, man, this is some script.
Yeah.
And it was like 6 pages.
Yeah. So I think it was... I think, if anything, they had bullet points.
Yeah, this was probably one of those things where, like, the writers... So the director and the guy who played Anki, I think they're the writers. Mm-hmm. They, like, beat it out the story. They probably had a few scenes in mind, but they were like... fuck it. We'll figure it out on the day. It's fine.
Yeah. We'll just figure it out as it goes. Yeah.
Well, considering the fact that nobody again knows where this movie has come from or what it's about, why don't you give us a quick rundown, since you know this movie like the back of your hand, of what
the back
those
of my
bullet
hand.
points might be.
The bullet points? Okay, so we have our characters. We have Merv, which, great name, by the way. Mm-hmm. And he is the standard horror movie, like, film geek, which, looking around the table, hello, gentlemen.
Yeah.
And he is best friends with this... how the fuck would you describe Anki?
He reminds me of the other guy from Clerks.
Randall?
Yeah.
A little bit. That type of character.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
He is Randall without the charm, or Randall trying?
Oh no, there's charm. It's just not that kind of charm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So then you have Anki, who is Randall from Clerks, and then you have like the only like female character in the movie, Ash.
Yeah, there's multiple female characters.
Yeah, but she's the only one that has like lines. Gets really weird at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
she turns into a zombie.
She's supposed
supposed
to be like the love interest, I guess.
Yeah, she disappears for 90 minutes in the movie, but whatever. Yeah. And then the loony, who is our escaped mental patient, who is very effeminate, very lovely singing voice, hell of a dancer, and also, like David, is a vegetarian.
I related to that character.
Yeah. You're like, I remember when I escaped from the asylum. it was a hard road ahead of
It
me.
was just meat is murder.
Meat is murder.
Yeah.
And Murr finds the loony, and the loony is trying to play up the whole I'm a serial killer kind of thing, and it's not really happening because it's like he wants to be a serial killer, but he's very incompetent at it.
Yeah.
And Merv is like, yo, I watched all the Jason movies. I got this, fool.
Mm-hmm.
And then, lo and behold, he actually does got this and trains this loony up to be a serial killer. We have about 5 or 6 montages about that happening.
Yeah.
Several.
Several. Anki is a terrible influence on the loony. They go into a lesbian bar for some drinking contests. Less Than Jake shows up, the American ska band.
This movie does miraculously have a cameo.
Yeah. I was very surprised to see that. I was like, how the hell did they do that? Was that
a favor? That they were in town?
There was no way that wasn't a favor. That must have been, well, let's see. Craigslist didn't quite exist. Well, it did, but I think Craigslist, from what I remember in the early 2000s, was only limited to the Bay Area. So I think they just put ads out. Just like, we're making this movie, you can show up if you want to.
Jeez.
And maybe they were touring, they were playing a show, like, fuck it, let's just show up.
Could you imagine one of them was like, they were just in the crowd, like, dude, you want to be in my movie? And Less Than Jake are just like,
Sure.
Well, like, what do you mean? No, dude, we got a tour. It's like, no, dude, like 10 minutes. I got the car out back in the camera, and they're like,
just show up.
yeah, fuck it, But yeah, and then because it's hard to explain the plot of this movie because it doesn't really make a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Well, here's what I got from it. So what you said is mostly right, I feel.
yeah.
So we have the very beginning, which is essentially a flashback. What 13 years before?
Yeah,
the
where
events?
he's at his middle school.
He's at his middle school, and he's being teased for being a vegetarian by the other kids. One of which is a cripple, and the other one which just has a cigarette in his ear.
Also wearing the sickest leather jacket you've ever seen.
And these kids are like 10 to 12.
And
so
then they start throwing meats.
they start throwing all of their meat at him, their lunch. I remember I will never forget one of the lunch pails said I love pork.
Oh, are you gonna get that lunch pail?
I'm gonna have to get up a lunch pail and but I heart pork on it.
That's good
But that was essentially his origin story of our serial killer's origin story.
This is Michael at home,
It's Michael at home. It's Joker 2019. It's all the origin stories rolled into that 5 minute. I think it was less than 5 minutes actually.
Probably.
I think it was like 3 or 4 minutes.
What is it? Did you like the opening where he's just like doing?
Yeah, I don't know.
And his mom is just hard.
Yeah, yeah. That's the whole thing right there. And yeah, he's trying to make the best serial killer ever, but it doesn't work until he abandons him. That's what changes. Yeah. That's what makes him mean. That's when his mask went from nice, normal hockey mask to scary monster mask. Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that's a thing. He only gets good at his goal when the teacher or whatever leaves him.
Yeah, when he's betrayed. Yeah.
Themes. Themes.
So there's something there.
There is something here. So David, is there something here? Are you still on the train of they made this while they were stoned out of their minds?
Well, I think they were stoned out of their minds. Yeah. But there is still something there.
There's something.
No, I mean, everybody has a dream. And I feel like, if you were trying to make a feature film at no money in your wallet, fresh out of film school, whatever film school that taught them how to do this, just a few friends, then this was what you would turn out. It would be disjointed and stupid, and at least, if anything, the film has their personalities all over it, which helps it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exponentially.
This is one of those films you can really tell who made it, and I think it's got a lot of heart to it,
Yeah. And it's I really really like to do especially is talk about the parody of it. It's a lot of interesting editing choices that
Yeah. So for those who will probably never seek this movie out, the editing in this film you could lovingly say is seizure inducing.
Yeah, but they use that to their advantage at certain points, and they love calling back to things that they, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where I can't tell if they planned it, but that, for instance, in the beginning with the dog bit, there's the POV shot of whatever in the bushes, and then we come to find out it's just his dog.
It's just his dog.
And it's a funny joke, and then they call back to it later in the movie. Which, again, boggles my mind, because how do you remember 2 years later that you made this joke and decide, that's what we're going to shoot today?
They could not have done this, like, chronologically, right? There's probably huge chunks of this movie that were filmed, like probably, like, the beginning when he goes up to his house, and at the, like, way at the end when he does the same thing. Those are probably shot on the same day, even though they're, like, 45 minutes apart in the movie. So, I'm like,
I don't know. I kind of felt like the whole thing was done because, again, the fresh out of film school continues to surprise me.
Yeah.
And while I was watching it, it felt apparent to me that they started production in 1999 or whatever they said it started in. And then
they took like a year off.
The climax of the movie definitely had to have been after they had gained some sort of cult following of making this and blogging about it or whatever was happening.
You can tell that there was definitely a uptick in money and quality at some point during production.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was the party. I don't know.
No, I feel like that party was probably a real party that they just decided, let's just film some of it here and just make this an actual scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do think that more than once, like, some of the scenes in between were shot like a year apart to like 6 months apart.
Some of them
because we noticed, like, oh, he's wearing something completely different now, and he's clean shaven now. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just everywhere, which is fine.
Is it though? Is it fine?
I think for something like this, I think it's fine.
Yeah, because this is the other thing too. Is this is more than I've ever done in my filmmaking career. So it's like I'm watching it and it makes me. It's kind of weird how this movie actually makes you feel good about what you might be able to do.
Yeah.
Damn. Sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
Well, just this guy. This was. Where was this screened? Was this at?
This was screened at festivals.
This was at festivals. So already
This was a festival selection.
And not only that, but international ones. From what I remember from the box, it's that they had 2 selections in Montreal and Dublin, and then it was a winner, whatever winner means, at the Rhode Island Horror Film Festival.
Like this movie had chops.
Yeah, and
What the fuck?
Yeah, none of my stuff. Well, except for one, I guess, but it was just one quote unquote festival last year. But I think this movie accomplished more than the 3 of us have so far combined as small filmmakers.
Yeah, and I guess I meant that more as like, none of us have gone out to make features or anything, and that's something that's a stereotype in indie film or young filmmakers is that you go out and make your first feature, you have no idea what you're doing.
Oh God, no.
Then out of that might come something amazing or something nobody ever hears from again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing with well, I guess that's probably why there was a bunch of Sam Raimi references in this movie, because Sam Raimi was the same thing when he made Evil Dead.
Yeah,
he was all over the place when he was making it.
And this movie certainly deserves to be in the latter category, but somehow I don't know. I think I'm more fascinated with like whatever was going on around the production and release of it for them to get people into it. Because then you look on the back, like the box. Well, not only that, this movie has a DVD, a 2-disc set.
Correct. I have the special edition version. Thank you, Blockbuster. When you closed down, I managed to get this for 10 cents.
And then it's like we were trying to Google things right now, and that's what I've been trying to do. Because I found the Twitter account of the director, Christian James, which is not active and is not interacted with very much.
Gotcha.
I found a few like articles. A lot of their names end up leading to different people with the same name on Google. And it's just one of those things where it's like I feel like I should find fingerprints of a fan base somewhere. Because that's obviously where you come from.
I'm sure there is.
Well,
there's no way this isn't.
I that's the thing, because I've had this film for like I said, for like a decade, since like Blockbuster went out of business. Mm-hmm. And I've never met anybody who's seen it before. I mean, I think I Googled it once or twice, and I was like, I found the IMDb page. I found out the director didn't, like, actually did stuff, and then, like, that was it. But this seems like a movie that should have some sort of cult following somewhere. Like, it should have a Reddit thread.
Yeah, there's no way it's not Reddit, if not 4chan. Like, there is a community out there. It could be no more than 20 people.
But there is.
But this is something there would be I could see this being played at parties and stuff like that.
This seems like one of those kind of party movies, right? You throw it on in the background while you're doing something else, and some people chime in and out of it.
Yeah, or everyone just sits down and just gets high and watches it together, and it's just an event that happens probably once a year, if anything.
Would you like a copy of this movie for your next high movie?
You know what? I think I would. And this is, I'll be honest, this is something I could see myself, like, if it was like on Amazon Prime, like for $2, I'd buy it. That's for certain. It's just something to have. Like, it's up there, like I'm sure all of you have heard of Red Letter Media. Yeah, they've made movies, a few that are just garbage, but they're good garbage.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's this certain brand of bad movie that people just love watching, and this is like my vibe of bad movie, where it's like you can tell people tried on this movie, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, it's all over the place. Like, the production value is like pretty bad, but god damn, the heart on display just keeps you going.
The most I've been able to find is you mentioned Reddit, and it's from 5 years ago, but it has a suggestion.
Wow.
And then that's it. Though you might be able to, it's interesting. You said that this was worth $2, of which, based on Dean's original purchase price, you'd be overpaying by hundreds of percent.
Yeah.
Right. Hey,
but all anybody can say is they want to find a DVD copy of this movie.
So you have like the Holy Grail here.
Probably
You're
do.
just by. So did you know? I want to ask. Did you know what this movie was when you found it in that bin?
No. Okay. So, 10 years ago. How was I 10 years? No, because it would have been way later than that. No, it would have been way earlier than that.
But
because,
you said a Blockbuster was going out of business, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't even Blockbuster. It was a Hollywood Video.
Oh, okay. Completely
So that was
different.
yeah.
Okay,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I say Blockbuster because in your mind, every rental place is a Blockbuster.
Yeah. Even though Hollywood Video is another option.
Oh, a whole other option, and that was the one that was close. So it was like I had to have been in middle school when I got this fucking movie. So
although it also makes sense that this would have no business being in a Blockbuster, but definitely would find its way into a Hollywood Video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes This wouldn't be in a Blockbuster.
Yeah. So basically, I remember, and I've always been into horror movies, and I was like, oh, I'll go down to the Hollywood Video and look at some movies since they're like having a sale. And I went and looked, and I was like, oh, that looks cool, blah blah blah. And I just saw this in the bargain bin. Because, that's what happens when you go out of business. You just try and get rid of everything. And I looked through it, and it was like, oh, $2. And I saw this one, and it was 10 cents. And I just looked at the back of it, and I kind of, like, read it a little bit. I was like, oh, I thought it was a serious horror movie, by the way. I thought it was, like, just a straight-up horror movie. Because I saw the front, it's like, oh, it has all these, like, accolades. I saw the bag, it has, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. And I just, like, threw it into, like, the bag or whatever. And I was like, I can't go wrong with 10 cents. How little did I know.
That you found a diamond in the rough.
Yes, I found a dime in the rough.
A dime in the rough.
You were easily convinced.
I was easily convinced.
Well, that harkens back to the old days of like going to like not even a Blockbuster, but like before Blockbuster even existed, there were video stores like you rent. They were just dingy ones owned by some guy. You walk in, and you're just looking for a movie to watch, and everything is based off of the cover.
Oh yeah,
that's it.
Oh yeah, that's always been like my thing because I remember the younger years when I used to live in like Whittier, there was like mom and shop video stores, and it was like that. You'd walk in, it smelled like ass.
Yeah.
The guy behind the counter was the only guy who knew at all what the fuck was in that store.
Yeah.
And you would just ask, hey, what movie do you recommend us watching? And he would just pull out the box.
Yeah.
And it'd be all like black covered videos, and he'd be like, I really hope I'm handing you is not porn. I'm pretty sure this is like a Stallone movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was literally what it is. The cover sold me, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. You guys remember your experience finding the diamonds in the rough at the video store?
Yeah.
Well, that was the first time I ended up seeing the Hurt Locker.
Really?
A situation like that. Yeah, just by picking something off the wall.
Yeah, they still, like Blockbuster, I mean, there was a few, there were still places that you can, like, not that long ago when it comes down to it.
Yeah, actually, that's why I was... video store next to you in the lot over by your house. There's a video store there.
Yeah, well, there's ones peppered, because we live in the greater LA area, they're all over the place still.
Yeah.
I even know of one down the street. But that beside the point is like, well, I don't really know what point I'm trying to make about video stores, but
it's a lost art. This is because
it is. Well, yeah, maybe that's what it was. Is it's a lost art.
Yeah, because this is the kind of movie that you would probably never seek out, but if you saw it at like a video store, you'd be like, I gotta watch it.
Yeah, that's how when I was younger I discovered Commando, because I just saw Schwarzenegger just decked out, didn't know what it was.
Glistening body with the machine gun.
Yeah. That's how I discovered it, and it wasn't even Blockbuster. It was one of those dingy, crusty stores.
But you know what's funny is that's kind of how I ended up coming across A Necessary Death. Obviously not in a video store, but that process still lives on with streaming. Albeit more and more, I feel like the nobody goes on like Amazon to rent something anymore, which is how I ended up finding A Necessary Death. Yeah. Versus now it's just whatever B movie you can run across. Which really isn't a B movie anymore. It's just that they made it like a B movie, but then it's marketed to a mass audience on Netflix.
It really sucks we don't have B movies anymore.
Well, yeah, I think we do, but they're trying to be a B movie.
Yeah.
The whole point of a real B movie is they're trying to make something serious.
Or it's just missing.
Well, just like, the biggest B movie, The Room. Tommy Wiseau to this day, like he tried to get it. He wanted it to be nominated for a Best Film and Best Actor for the Academy Awards. He took that movie completely seriously, even though it's a wonderful pile of dog shit.
I have a signed copy of The Room.
Really?
I met Tommy Wiseau at WonderCon or Kamikaze or one of those conventions, and he was there and he was signing shit, and I was like, oh shit, it's Tommy Wiseau. Mm-hmm. And he was selling like DVD, or he's selling Blu-ray copies. He was selling underwear, Wiseau Media underwear.
Mm-hmm. You grabbed those, right?
I did not. I grabbed the movie poster and the DVD, the Blu-ray because they packaged together.
I would have gotten a pair of the underwear. That's for sure.
Regrets I've had in my life. That's one of them. Also, the best part, he had the football from the movie, and he would throw football with people at the crowd. Yeah, I got to play football with Tommy Wiseau, just like they do in The Room.
That'll find its way into the Smithsonian one of these days.
Yeah, one day, dude.
That shit's important right there.
Yeah, it's the red ruby shoes and the football.
Yeah, that's cinema history right there.
It really is. Like that's the thing. So I know we're film buffs, right? We love movies. We like good movies, but let's be honest. We can't all stay at that level of high-minded art film. Sometimes you need a bad movie in your diet.
You have to in order to keep. To regulate your tastes. You have to know the good from the bad.
Or even to appreciate that. Because it's weird because that you mentioned The Room, but these guys knew they were making a crappy movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So it is different.
And it's like, that's, I think, what is so nice about watching this is that it's like watching a bad YouTube video for... I don't even know how long we watched this damn movie, but I don't know what the runtime was.
It was a feature length. It was an hour and like 30-something minutes.
It was over 90. It was 90 or over,
Yeah. And it's like, maybe that's what this is it just predates the YouTube era where they were able to make this thing and release it just on the internet. And then as a result, because it was infinitely harder to do at that time, that's how they ended up garnering all this attention, is that, they actually did something, so we have to put them on somewhere.
That's actually interesting because this movie, they started in 99, and I don't think YouTube even blew up till
YouTube showed up in 2006.
2006, right?
I mean, it was really, rough. That was before Google had it. It was just like, I think it was just two guys making this website.
Yeah.
And Google got it from them a couple of years later. So this was pre-YouTube for sure.
Yeah, because I got in on YouTube early. I got in like 2008, I think, was probably like my first exposure to YouTube. Maybe a little bit earlier, but 2008 is, I can say I was there in YouTube land. But these guys, this movie got released like way before that. So this is before they could have even released I don't even think they could advertise trailers on the internet back then with this.
From what I remembered, I remember Apple was there, but this was only for like major blockbusters. Something like this, no, this is purely
Word of mouth.
Like, dude, you gotta check this out. I mean, locally for them, obviously, it would have been a lot easier.
Oh yeah.
But over here, I mean, the festivals definitely helped, I think.
Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Island Horror Film Festival. This was an international success, to say the least.
Yeah, so this is old-fashioned as far as, this word-of-mouth stuff. Like, this is way before, hey, let's watch this. I mean, yeah, movie trailers existed, even back in the late 90s. But something like this, I mean, they could have just made their own website, but even then, it's still word of mouth. Yeah,
it's so again, it's super weird with this movie because it's like I like this movie and it warms my heart to see the ragtag filmmakers actually making something.
Yeah,
but like. I know you're allergic to my bullshit, but
I swallowed my water weird. That's what that was.
Well, I think a lot of this movie, at least for me, because I know we're talking around the movie, we're not talking about the movie, but we'll get to that. But it's like a lot of this movie, it just like kind of reminds me that it's like, oh, we have it way easier than these guys probably had it making a movie.
Oh yeah,
but do we though?
Well, yes and no.
Because the one thing that I keep thinking about when I think about this movie is like. All they had to do was start with the digital VHS camera, and they were just fucking around on the weekends. And then eventually, as we learned in the featurette, they get access to things like 16mm and sound people.
And a shotgun.
Yeah, live rounds.
A real shotgun.
A real shotgun. Oh, that's so good.
That wasn't even that scene that wasn't even included in the film.
Yeah, and
this movie has deleted scenes. They filmed that much footage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and over 4 years they end up shooting. Which I'm sure they've ended up having like 3 or 4 hours of film by the end of it. But I'm sure most of it was nonsense for whatever that means in this movie. And then as a result, it's like just the pure effort put in and the fact that they were self-aware of it gets them some praise because there's entertainment value there once they realize, oh well, yeah, of course it's not going to be good. But we can make fun of that along the way and fall into parody, if not intentionally do it at times. Send it off to some film festivals, and Bob's your uncle. But nowadays, it's like because of the oversaturation of internet filmmaking, it's like there's no way I would just be able to make something like this. And well, yeah, if I made this, of course it would find attention somewhere. But people nowadays, you try to make a movie with your friends and then post on the internet, and that might be it because it's free.
Yeah.
You got to do I feel like the bar has been set infinitely higher because of, and for rightful reasons. I mean, more filmmakers, more better filmmakers, more better.
More better.
More better.
More better grammar and but I don't know. It's I kind of I don't want to say I was the filmmaker who grew up in a wrong generation. But I do kind of I would love to experience like what it was like to just be unaware of everything back then.
Yeah, that's something that I it is kind of a regret because I'm older than both you guys. I'm less than 2 years away from being 40, and so they're all in their 20s, obviously. Yeah. So it's clear that when they were making this, I was around their age.
Yeah.
And I got into filmmaking later on in life. I started taking filmmaking super seriously about 3 years ago. And I thought like it would have been cool to make something, back then when digital right now, you could make a quality film by spending a couple grand on just the camera and a couple lenses alone, especially if you do used. But back then, I remember camcorders. They all looked like dog shit.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have had to fork over some money for at least a 16mm film. So, I mean, and editing software digitally was in its infancy. Like it was, you had to do it. So I'm assuming these guys edited their film the old-fashioned way, which I want to do. I've never got to. So I envy them in that way, like you do. Like it would have been great if we could go back and just make a film in that way. And they got success to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And the director's still doing stuff.
Yeah, and give and take too, because you mentioned the money involved, and if you had $38 grand nowadays, it's like, yeah, you'd be able to make.
You could definitely make a competent feature film.
What
with
is it?
38
Clerks cost Kevin Smith
It's
what
like
20
something
20
grand.
grand?
Yeah. And he shot in black and white, so it's cheaper.
Yeah. Or what? Primer.
Yeah,
The
Primer.
guy was like $7 grand.
Yeah,
Well,
like
less than that even. I think.
Yeah, I think it
might
was
have been
less.
less.
Primer and even his other film. I can't recall it, but it takes him a long time because he just does everything himself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
or I
that-
think about like if we're talking about like a fairly recent independent feature that was done like this, where it's like we get a very little. I say very little, but it ended up being $100,000. But Tangerine is like the last one I can think of that was
yeah.
probably like this.
But
It
even
was shot on an iPhone.
yeah, even to today's standards, 100 grand is chump change. That's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
What is it? Me and David have done this thing on our other podcast where we look at like the budgets of the film to see it's like, oh, were these like successful? You know, because that's the easiest way to kind of tell if a movie like was like a audience success is did it bring in money?
Mm-hmm.
And we've come to realize that budgets for most movies, at least modern movies, are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're insane.
What is it? We did the campaign not too long ago, and what was it, David? It was like $1 million. It was over $1 million a minute.
yeah, we ended up finding out that it was like 85 million to make or something. Like
It was because the campaign is like 85 minutes. The budget was like 90 million,
Mm-hmm.
so it was over $1 million a minute.
Yeah,
And we're like,
and you
how?
probably you don't even know which movie we're talking.
No,
about.
I know of it, but I don't know that much.
Yeah, and it's like you had Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis in that, and it's like you can't even turn out what this movie ended up becoming.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. It's
Like that's a good question. So if you, okay, for all intents and purposes, say we made this movie today, how much do you think this would actually cost us? Because they shot theirs on 16, but that was probably because that's just like what you had to use back then if you wanted it to not look like dog shit.
Yeah. They had no
Today
choice.
we could use like Sony, right?
Yeah.
Like how much do you think it would actually cost us to make this? Because like a lot of the camera work, the lighting, they're using like halogen lights.
Yeah.
thinking of how many locations they had to secure. You can write that out of your budget practically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like Merv's house, a video store, a like bowling alley thing, and the mall and the police station, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
The police.
Yeah.
The police station.
It looked
which
like
was
there was a school that
Yeah.
they just shot in.
Well, they
Of which
dressed
the
up.
interrogation room was in an open concept
Yeah.
pavilion.
Yeah, in the featurette, it was an abandoned building that was in their neighborhood.
Okay, well there you
that
go.
they just broke
Yeah.
into. Yeah.
Exactly. And so there's that. There's food and craft services. I'm sure just ended up becoming Burger King.
Or just
It's a BYOB
yeah,
affair.
well, yeah, or like a friend of ours. It's just Little Caesars pizza literally every day of the shoot.
Oh my god. Oh,
I heard
sweet
about that, and I was
It-
like,
Ah.
you can't at least randomize it up by Del Taco every other day or something.
He
Yeah.
brought donuts this time, okay? And then when we
Oh,
broke
he
for lunch, we put the quotes up there. When we broke for lunch, when we were driving back to the other location, we stopped for Mexican food.
Oh,
But only
fair.
me and
Oh.
only like the actors and me and like
Oh wow.
other friends stopped for Mexican food. He just went home and took a nap. But whatever.
But yeah, I don't even.
I think okay. I'm probably being optimistic here. I feel like if everyone we know
Yeah.
together to doing if we wanted to make a movie just like this today with stuff that we already have, I feel like we could do it all for $2,000 maybe, and most of that's just paying for gas, food, maybe $3,000.
Yeah, what pops into my mind is that you would pretty much only have to run into emergency expenses.
Yeah,
You would never.
Probably.
Somebody around you has a DSLR or two.
Yeah.
Somebody around you has lights. Somebody around you has the boom pole.
mm-hmm.
It would.
I mean, shit, you'd even be able to turn out something that has better quality.
Yeah.
Technically.
Probably.
yeah.
Because that's one thing that benefits them is I don't think anybody, at least in my opinion, nobody I know has comedic chops that would charm me like this does.
Yeah.
I could maybe think of two people that maybe not to this degree, but do have some comedic value as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
writing is concerned.
But yeah, like you that's like probably like Thomas, you're probably right. It would probably take you only like $3,000 to make this today,
Yeah,
right? and that's kind of speaking to the very low budget about this movie that we're talking about. But I guess let's kind of talk about the movie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, who would like to start? Just, favorite scene, favorite moments, things you just could not comprehend.
Well, the first thing I couldn't comprehend was the very first shot of the kid. What was he doing? He was like playing imaginary trumpet or something. And his mom was just boozing away, and she like kicked him out.
Oh yeah.
I have been wondering that for 10 years. I have no idea what he's doing. He's just just going for it. And and his mom is woof.
Yeah,
Oof.
just a drunkard. And that's the last we see of her. I think he just disappears.
Yeah, it's like a weird little origin story that felt like it felt like from that moment onward, I really did feel like they tried to write a movie from memory.
Yeah.
Because the editing especially was like at every turn kind of felt like they were looking at the footage afterward and just being like, yeah, fuck all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We made all of this and now we don't like it anymore.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think my favorite moment was the beginning. It was that transition of the quote unquote origin story, that black and white.
Yeah.
And then he's being picked on. He has all this meat thrown at him, and he swears that he'll get his revenge. But then you see him like coming back as an adult and like in the
Escape gown.
Escape, like hospital gown. And he goes back to the school, and the school shut down. There's nothing there.
And he's like, ah,
yeah.
shit. Oh.
So I guess he just wanders after that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he's still, running away from the law and the asylum. Also, that opening gets me every fucking time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, yeah, of course, Michael, your house is going to be torn down when you come back home. Like,
Yeah,
what the
13
fuck?
years over a decade later, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think my favorite scene that ends up being like the very first video store scene. Because
Yeah.
that little sequence when he's talking to the kids trying to
Yeah.
suggest a movie.
Yeah, oh yeah,
was
that's all of us.
This is what I mean, where
Yeah.
it's like the movie is oddly genius.
Mm-hmm.
Because it starts off very choppy and like I have no idea what's going on. Then over time it starts to do these jump cuts that are like perfectly summarizing what it's like to be talking to somebody like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it almost falls into genius. I don't get it at all.
No,
I can't explain it.
I think that summarized all of us film geeks.
Yeah.
Just it's already weird enough. And then I love that he addresses, there's two kids, but one of them's holding an Elmo doll.
Yeah.
And he says all three of you, like Elmo's one of the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. That's just great because when he starts talking, I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, I've been that guy trying to explain a movie to somebody.
You were that guy trying to get me to watch this movie.
I was that guy trying to get you to watch this movie.
Yeah. Which just makes me feel like I need to listen to your recommendations more often because
that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
All right.
It is funny. The big Halloween movie that came out this year, because obviously there's not a whole lot of going on. It, I guess, would be like Hubie Halloween, which is sad to think about. It's that new Adam Sandler Netflix joint where it's like
I don't even know about this.
Kevin James is like a
Jesus
cop or something. I don't know. People have watched it. That's pretty much all I know.
God,
It has been watched.
it has it. People have set eyes upon it.
But it's like, that movie is not as funny as this, and yet they're trying to do what these guys are doing.
Yeah.
It's obviously a parody for whatever it is.
Mm.
It's obviously a parody of, like, their own careers, because that's all they do now.
Is it weird that Adam Sandler made Uncut Gems, was basically like in the talks for winning Best Actor, and then he goes on to just make that. After a decade of the grown-up movies, makes a movie where he's going to be Best Actor, and then it was like, I didn't make it. Goes back to making the grown-up movies, basically.
Well, because the Safdie brothers were around for one of those situations. So.
Yeah. Yeah, P.T. Anderson was the other one.
Yeah. Man, Punch Drunk Love was a good movie. I'm gonna hold.
You had like a moment of clarity right there.
I
You
had
just
a
quiet
moment.
and you just stared into space. You're like, yeah, that was really good. Like,
Good movie.
I don't know.
That's like my thing. You know, I hear a movie and I'm just like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
my
it's
brain
really
just shovels through the
Yeah.
entire movie.
The other thing that I find interesting too is that maybe it's a better way to describe it is that they don't keep falling into these moments of genius throughout this nonsense plot and what is basically a premise sticking everything together. But it almost feels like you see them learning lessons about filmmaking along the way, because you start to see things go from like the way they block dialogue gets more creative. There's obviously good things in the beginning about the editing, but then like as time goes on, they start to spoof their own editing.
Yeah.
First of all, the sound design is actually surprisingly
When
good
we found out,
for whatever that means. But
well, we found out that almost half of the film didn't have sound in it, and they had to go back and ADR a lot of it.
which is actually a comment I made to you, where it's like it felt at first like that they had done that, but it was off at certain points, but then on at certain points. That makes a lot more sense. But then they kind of use that to their advantage, I think, in plucking random bits of dialogue and
there are a few times when the actor is not moving his mouth at all, but dialogue is coming out.
Dirty hands.
Yeah. No, being someone who's had to ADR an entire scene, let alone more than half of a feature, I think you're right. I think it worked in their favor.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's just like when the movie starts, the bar is okay. When this movie started, how good did you think this was gonna be? Like in the first 10 minutes, did you think this movie was gonna be anything other than schlock?
No, I knew exactly what it was going to be.
As soon as it started, you knew exactly what was going to be.
I knew. Yeah, the verse, him playing the imaginary trumpet. I was like, all right, I know it, and that's what's great about it. It knows exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the moment I started to get it was before the movie, actually, when the trailers on the DVD were playing.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Which were, I mean, I was first of all surprised that they even got somebody to pay for advertising on this thing.
Dude, Night of the Living Losers, it needs to be seen.
Or let alone that the Reanimator trailer.
Reanimator was on there.
Which felt like it was the original Reanimator trailer from like a VHS.
Yeah.
I was looking at it and I was like, wait a minute, the fucking VHS copy that I have at my house is better quality than this. This is from a rip that somebody took, filming with a camcorder, the VHS copy they had.
Yeah. But that was about the time that I realized, or even when I found out this was a fucking 2-disc set. That was when I started to realize it was just somebody has to have taken this seriously, so there's something I'm missing here. And that was when I kind of submitted to it and was like, okay, something of this will touch me in certain ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was it good touch or bad touch? That's what we need to know.
Both. A little bit of both.
It was like tugging on the ring of that doll.
Yeah. It was oh no, stop, no, I kind of like this. That's the kind of touching.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's fun. It's fun.
I think too what is interesting is how I keep going back to this premise line of why don't we try to create our own slasher out of this guy we found, which is what any little movie nerd would think if they were to come across. I mean, not really, but in this
movie
world,
presence, yeah.
And then it's like the characters that are involved with it developing is a good word for it over the course of the film, because at first Anki is I thought he was going to be a throwaway character, to be honest. But then he ended up being, after the debauchery montage, if you want to call it that, I got it a little bit more. And it's kind of weird how some of the writing is, dare I say, textbook.
Textbook writing.
Yeah.
That's, okay.
I don't know.
We all know your favorite gag. Damn this charity work.
Oh, yeah.
You almost... So there's this scene where Merv is getting these phone calls, and he's just like, oh, what's doing this? And he picks it up, and he just yells, stop calling me. You're ruining people's life. Stop. And it cuts to who's calling him, and it's this old lady charity worker, and she's like, you know what, you're right. I am ruining people's lives. And she pulls a fucking 45 out of her fucking... desk and she puts it in her mouth and it just cuts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
David's just there being like shocked. He's like, "What the?"
And that's what I mean. Is like they certainly horror movie fans. I mean, let alone that guy's bedroom.
Oh yeah. That guy's bedroom is peak.
I also really like
Peak
that
horror
little
movie fan.
that post. Well, it's not really a post credit scene, but that scene at the end where they poke fun at like the change from slashers to alien films. And Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you like how Anki just, as soon as he was left alone, he went in to try and make out with the
Yeah. Or even before that, two people just having sex for like a couple seconds.
Yeah.
I was just thrown in there.
This is one of those movies. You're
Yeah,
a little bit surprised
the
there's not as many tits.
And the actual film character says not porn on it.
Yeah.
I might add.
It feels good.
No, I'm surprised. I think I only saw. I mean, I went to the bathroom some point in the beginning, and I think I missed a little bit.
Yeah.
So is there? I think I only recall seeing two female nipples. Was there more than that? Did I miss?
I
some?
think that might have been it.
I think that was it.
I think there were a couple sets of boobs.
This
They
is
were
the
just
things
they
we
were
need to know.
split second, but well, they're standard for horror movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That well, we do see Anki's butt crack. I know that.
We
much.
see Anki's butt crack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from that little moment.
Oh,
where
we did get to see Murph sensually.
Yeah. Oh,
showering
yeah. That's
off.
right. Yeah.
And you guys were laughing your asses off.
That was taken very seriously. That moment.
That was as the director said, that was our commentary about, usually they objectify the women in the shower. Now it's the men's turn.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm continuing to be thoroughly surprised by how really advanced the deception was and all of those. Because you go into that scene and you're just like, this is just some 17-year-old trying to shoot like a psycho spoof. And then it ends up actually being like a really funny, well-paced
Yeah.
spoof of it, where I'm like,
You're like,
why are you? It makes me wonder, why are you here making this?
Yeah.
You should have. I don't know. Here's a question I do want to bring up, because obviously this is a first-time movie done by two amateur filmmakers, and it had to have been the first time they really made something, because I'm sure film school in 1999 didn't allow you to, like nowadays, make a few different shorts that, by the end of you have a full hard drive full of. You probably got to make one actual.
you probably made a handful of shorts, but yeah, probably nothing to this degree.
Yeah, and it's like, so obviously we've all started at kind of different times, and I've pulled up what I remember, because I remembered while we were discussing this and realizing it was a horror movie, what my first script was.
Oh my god.
And
I remember mine.
yeah, I'd love for everybody to describe what they thought at the time this project would be, your first, or whatever you thought your first was going to be.
Man.
And then what, looking back on it, you're glad the world never got to see.
Shit.
I can't say the same thing. My first script, I think, was 2014, maybe 2015. And it was for a contest, so plenty of people got to see it. Yeah.
Proud of that one?
I mean, it was...
Thomas is trying to compose.
I'm trying to compose myself. Yeah, it was for a contest. And people that I don't know personally, but that I admire, I know have seen it for this, to probably saw hundreds of films. So it was viewed, and it was only a minute long.
Okay.
But that was my first real script. That was...
I need to know before I let you get away.
I think it's probably on my YouTube channel. That is, this film is probably just set to private, but I know it exists.
Well, premise line. I'd love to
Okay,
know what
all
it's
right.
about.
Oh Jesus.
I'll come fully clean about what mine's about. Don't worry.
Okay, all right. Okay,
At least yours is only a minute long. Mine ended up being 22 pages of crap. So.
Okay, yeah, mine was only like a page and a half, maybe. So the contest was for a very popular tech YouTube channel called Linus Tech Tips, which you may or may not have heard of.
So, yeah.
He was doing a contest where you had to make a short film about upgrading your PC rig and why you need to upgrade it. And he was like he was gonna spend like your new rig, if you won, he would spend like $50,000 on.
Oh,
So you'd have an
serious.
insane.
You would future-proof your computer.
Yeah,
You would
future-proof.
literally be able
yeah.
to produce this movie.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think it was high up. It was in the, it was definitely a lot of money, and so the premise of mine was essentially a breakup movie, but the female is breaking up with her old PC, saying she needs an upgrade. I shot it in black and white on my friend's Canon, and I put effort into it. Like, I set it up in like my living room, and I put like a whole dinner setting, like with like actual silverware and stuff. But like, I remember all of the dinner was like a bunch of like computer cables, like HDMI cables and stuff like that. And I had my old tower at the time, which I was upgrading, on the actual chair. And it ends with me pulling the thing down and it crashing on the floor. So, and I had a friend of mine who is still an actress. She was in it. I had a real script. I did more than one take. I put effort into this thing.
All right.
But this thing does exist.
Now, did your computer break as a result?
Well, it was just a case,
Oh,
but the
okay,
case
good,
did
good,
break.
good.
It wasn't usable after that.
All right.
The sacrifices were. I mean, I was going to throw it away anyway, but some sacrifices were made, and I unfortunately scared my cats because it was loud. Because right where the tower fell, we had a fireplace, a brick fireplace, and it fell right on that. So it made a lot of noise.
Well,
Intense.
every director needs a production that has casualties.
Yeah,
I suppose.
yeah, always.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Dean.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Trying to blend into the wallpaper. Yeah, so I remember. Okay, so the first script I ever wrote, I also had made because I never did film until I was like in college. And a friend of ours, Mr. Brandon Leva, was in my film class, and we were like, oh, the final project, everybody bring in like your story thing, and we're gonna make our final film of the semester. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize what that meant, so I literally just wrote a script. But my idea of a script was I wrote a Word document.
Yeah.
Whereas like, and it was like, it wasn't formatted right at all, because I had no idea what an actual script looked like. And I was like, oh, here you go, guys. It's called War of the DJ. It's like 10 pages long. And, it was...
I think I've seen this. I think I have seen this.
You might have seen the remake. I have the original. We can watch it after this, and I don't recommend it because it's a little rough. So it's about this DJ who is getting these calls from his listeners about a... alien landing on the planet or whatever, like the War of the Worlds thing. Mm-hmm. And then this alien robot comes in and chases him around, and there's some Benny Hill music. There's some other things going on. It's really bad. Like the quality of, like, I made that script and I took inspiration from this film. All right, it's rough.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I embarrassed to say the least, but it is out there, and I do own it. I've watched it a couple of times since, and it's a little interesting to see how far we've come.
Yeah, no kidding, because I'm reading some of the dialogue in this script of mine, and I am about to commit suicide live on air. Like, I can't even believe
you wrote this.
Now, if I could put it, I wrote this in the last edit as of marking on Google Drive was May 16th, 2018, which I don't even know where I was. That was when I had just before moved up here, I think. Which is embarrassing to know that this was only 2 years ago.
Wow.
But I have hopefully come a long way. I'm trying to find a piece of dialogue while I can describe the premise.
Well, you look for that. I gotta use the bathroom.
Yeah. You first, then me. But I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So don't feel so bad. Oh, shit, it was only 2 years ago. 2 years ago, yeah. I made 4 films and only... Shit, I don't even remember. Okay, so I remember I made a 1 minute short that I am still very proud of to this day in 2018. And then so only 2 out of those 4 I'm actually proud of. The other 2, like, no one. And that last one, I am proud of it, but there are moments where I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking, like dialogue-wise.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because when I think about certain things that I've made as well, you have certain things you're proud of, and you know that you could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
But it is one of those things where you start to just slowly realize that when you start, everything's idealized. You have no idea how it's going to go, and you only after you build up expectations for how these things are done, you'll actually be able to realistically set your expectations, no matter what those really are. Because you're never going to have realistic expectations with any project.
No, you're not.
And mine at this point, there was a background story. You can go to the bathroom.
Okay, no, we're going to finish, then I'll go.
Okay. I remember it had to have been a year before this, but I was in a car with friends driving around like the Ortega Hills because he was trying to find this. One of my friends, Joel, who is credited to have been writing this with me, but is not his fault, is how I'll describe it. It's more that I tried to convince him to do it with me. And he was trying to find this jewelry maker who he followed on Instagram who was doing like this random drop. He would be like, come find this piece of jewelry, I dropped it here. Kind of like geocaching.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If you can find it, there's a certain amount of things on the tree branch, and you'll get one of my rings for free. And it was a cool little, it was like a donut ring or something that glue in the dark, custom made, whatever. But we were driving around. Do you know much about the Ortega Highway, or are you?
Not much.
Well, it's the highway that connects Riverside, or where I was from, Lake Elsinore, to like San Clemente area.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
And it's a long, like 15-mile, 2-lane highway that goes through hills and forest and all these things.
But where a horror movie would take place.
Yeah, exactly, because we're going along a dirt road after, like, close to the other side. This is apparently where the guy has dropped these. None of us, the 3 other in the car, have any clue who this, like, jewelry maker is. So as far as we're concerned, this could be a fake story where we've been dragged out into the middle of nowhere. Pitch black everywhere. We're in my friend's Subaru going up really rough dirt road, and we come across this, like, I don't know about abandoned, but nobody was there at the time, camp. And I mean, like, old wood buildings and a flagpole and...
Oh, like a summer camp.
Yeah,
Wow.
like kind of a summer camp, but I later learned that this was like a fireman's camp or something like that, where they would set up in like the 50s or something. I don't know.
You want to film a horror movie?
Yeah, well,
I've
that's...
been wanting to.
I mean, that
that's
sounds
what we thought.
valuable.
We started to be like, you have led us to some place where we're going to get killed. And
Quick, film something.
Dude, get the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the trail luckily loops back around, but before we get out, it was like we stopped. We didn't find the guy. People had gotten there before us or something, and we stopped to be like look around because there's this valley and there's a car, lights off in like the brush, and we're like, oh, we should go look at that car. Opposite to what you think you would do in a horror film, where you're normally the viewer who's going, no, don't go to the car. Well, no, that's apparently a real reaction. The car's headlights turn on and we bail, and that was kind of the last of it. But it had since inspired me to write a story where it's like, well, that'd be interesting if you were dragged up to a horror, like an abandoned camp by a friend, only to find out you were going to be murdered. And that's the impetus for the story, is a guy reconnects with a old friend from summer camp, who the friend has found out that he had done something evil, and he's a deranged killer who's gonna kill him because it's kind of like a Dexter situation where it's like, you don't deserve to live anymore. Mm-hmm. Which is really weird because I'd never seen Dexter, now that I think about it. But
neither have I.
Yeah, I hope...
I think it's weird after season 3, I'll tell you that.
That's what I heard.
I'm glad I never got to do this, because it would have required... I had the whole thing pictured out in my head. I was going to take my crappy camera, because it was supposed to be like found footage style, where the guy's just like, I'm going to make a video of me and my friend getting together, which turns into a snuff film. And we were going to use a summer camp, the one that I've described in the podcast, of where me and actually one of the friends who was with me on the trip, We went to
Finding
jazz
out
camp.
this is based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had access to like the camp in Mammoth, and we were going to be able to break into it because my friend lived down the street from it, and we were going to go up and try. I tried to email the person to see if we could shoot some stuff at the place up in Ortega, which I've since never been able to locate. So that's even weirder.
Is a ghost camp.
And it has like 3 characters in it, so I was going to be like, perfect. I don't even need to, just get some friends together. I've written 22 pages. I still remember being in my community college library, finishing it and feeling, wow, I finished something. Which 22 pages would never even be the length of anything you would make.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be like a short.
No, I
it
thought
could
this
be,
was
yeah,
going
yeah.
to be a feature length thing.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
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 Yeah, you thought I was that smart.
Bro, like my first script was written on
Continue, I'm gonna get the
like
rest.
on Word, on like Microsoft Word, dude, and oh man.
Yeah. Well, that's what this was written in Google Drive. So
Oh, okay.
I had no idea there was such a thing as script software.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I know we're talking about like our experiences, in the wonderful world of low budget movie making, but like you gotta imagine like this is probably where these guys came from, right?
Yeah. I don't know. And who knows? That's, I guess, what I was trying to bring up is like, who knows where you would be at their age after 4 years of rigorous filmmaking. But they certainly ended up in a better place than a lot of us might have.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think that's why I really like this, is it ended up being something where I felt very fond of the filmmakers by the end of it.
Yeah, like I think that's the big thing if you are gonna seek out this movie go for it. If we can find any way you can get a hold of it, we'll hopefully link it in the description. But
Yeah, that is the folly of this show, is that it ends up being increasingly difficult for people to...
yeah, that's kind of the point. We talk about the most obscure movies, so everybody in those very small fan groups can kind of, have a podcast to listen to about their fun, kind of hard to find movies.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I would recommend seeking this out. If you honestly, this is the best kind of movie if you're a aspiring filmmaker, because you're gonna watch this and you're gonna be like, wait, people made this, and it's goofy, it's kind of nonsensical, the acting's questionable in some points.
You really tripped over that word, but I think you should have a lot more confidence.
Yeah, okay, questionable, but there's a lot of heart into it. There's a lot of work into it.
And there's a lot of fun in it.
There's a lot of fun into it. It's like if you're an aspiring filmmaker, you watch this. It's kind of like my experience watching Evil Dead, where this was just purely I wanted to make a movie and I'm gonna make my movie.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie is. He wanted to make his movie. He's gonna make his movie, and it's gonna come out his way.
Yeah.
And
I would love to know what the journey from like the final wrap day, whenever they felt like they were done with it, because after 4 years, when do you ever feel like you're done with it?
I knew a guy, or I saw this documentary. Where was this guy whose film took 10 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a documentary, and that's the hard part when you're making a documentary. Usually your shoots are kind of long because he was following this family in like Chicago, but bro, when it's 10 years, like at what point are you just like, okay, I've been filming this thing for so long, I don't think I can actually stop because I have no idea what the story is anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I guess like I would be really interested to know what from Final Wrap Day the journey is to things like the Rhode Island Film Festival, or to, I mean, Jesus, the film festival in Montreal or Dublin. It's like, I know Dublin being not that far away is still in another country, and it's like
These guys, yeah, like that's.
I know we
kinda weird.
mentioned word of mouth earlier, and I really feel like they had to have done things even been like, we made this thing for 4 years, so yeah, we're going to send out packages with the tape in it. Yeah, we're going to send out letters, and
We're gonna try and get this into as many hands as possible.
Yeah.
We need exposure.
and then beyond everything else, I really like thinking about the day that they would get back a letter being like, we're going to put you in our film festival, buy a plane ticket and come see it.
Would that okay? Do you think that was probably the best part about this when they finished making the movie? You know, because obviously these guys had like a blast making this movie. You can tell they had a lot of fun. But do you think the best part of the whole production was getting the letter or no? The best part of the whole thing was probably winning at the Rhode Island Film Festival and realizing that this weird little movie that was basically just the director and his friends riffing on horror movies and making this kind of dumb comedy, just like their weird sense of humor, and people liked it. Like that's gotta be like one of those like fuck yeah moments.
Because it was probably just so surprising. Everybody who submitted to that festival probably submitted real horror films, real
quote unquote real horror films.
Maybe that again, it goes back to like they used what they were doing to their advantage, and it probably was that people were just surprised by it, and they were like, "This has got a different reaction and is different from anything else here. We obviously need to acknowledge that."
Yeah, because this movie doesn't feel like anything else I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Right, which is weird because it's all over the place with like horror movie references and jokes that reference other things and jokes that internally reference itself. But I can't think of any other movie that has this same concept and plays it like this, or even a low budget movie that plays this close to the hilt with, this is just a movie about us, right?
Yeah.
Like us being the filmmakers and the actors and all that stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I hope someday that, I can probably be as excited and elated as these guys were once they finished this. And I'm glad that I now know about it.
Yeah. Thomas, so we were talking a second ago, since now you've come back, about the best part, probably the favorite moment that these guys probably had while making the movie. My thinking is the best part about making the movie was when they were accepting the award in Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When they realized this movie that was just them and they just kind of put it on the screen and people actually liked it, like they found an audience.
Yeah, I can only imagine, because it's clear that they did this thing. It was just them, I mean, messing around, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
And then that happens, and I mean, if I was in their shoes, I'd be losing my shit. Like, really? We just wanted to make a dumb movie, a dumb slasher comedy, and here we are getting this. Yeah, like we don't know why you guys like this piece of shit, but we're happy right now.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess I think we can all kind of agree we liked the movie.
Yeah, I had fun.
All right. So
I'm embarrassed. I really, again, am embarrassed to say that this is one of the most enjoyable things I've watched in a while.
I mean, we got to try here at the podcast.
Yeah.
So, I guess, any final points you want to make about the movie? Anything it's like, maybe something we didn't talk about, something we didn't bring up? Because I know we talked a lot about, the stuff around it, because I think we can all kind of relate to this movie a little bit.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because it's that kind of, like, really low-budget, raw filmmaking we will probably be doing.
No, I mean, I think it's just that this movie, again, reminds me that I need to keep having fun while doing this. And not that I forgot that in particular, but that you never know what the result of anything you do is going to be. So enjoy it while it lasts and look forward to what's to come next.
All right. Mr. Thomas, any fun words?
It's just an interesting reminder of why I like doing this. Like, as dorky or as serious as it may be, it's still fun as hell. And I miss doing it. Like, I haven't made a proper film, especially that I've written, in about 2 years. So, during the whole quarantine bullshit that we're going through right now, definitely hurts a bit because I just miss doing it so much. But it's just a reminder to just have fun with your friends and just try to put something together. And I mean, the goal isn't to get, to make a bunch of money. At least for me, it's just to enjoy doing what you love, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really like good like kind of horrible
Yeah.
way to put it for this fucking terrible
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I know I keep saying it's terrible.
Yeah,
It's bad, but it's so good.
There's heart in it.
I think that's the thing. It's like a good bad movie, which is kind of what I brought to the table. The good ones have heart in it, and this one has buckets of it. And that's probably where I want to put it. It's, this movie, it makes you want to make movies because it's raw, it's bad, but you can tell they had so much fun. And honestly, you don't have to take movies that seriously to have fun making movies, and you're gonna feel so much better when you get an audience for the fun, like, personal shit you put into your movies that obviously only you and your friends got. But yeah, really enjoy it. So I guess that kind of brings us to the end of our little podcast. Is there anything you guys want to plug before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll defer to our guest Thomas if
Yeah,
there's anything
Thomas,
he would like to say.
you wanna plug anything?
I don't have any, as far as filmmaking, I don't really have anything going on right now aside from me just poking at a couple of scripts. I can share what one of those is if you'd like, but this is one of those things, even though it will be a short, it needs a budget. So it's one of those things where you write the script, you're like, this is way too fucking ambitious for me to be writing this.
I write lots of those.
Yeah. My girlfriend and I had this idea recently of us doing a ghost story set in the 1940s. So again, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. But I've just mostly been working on music lately. But as far as anything to plug, I got nothing. Right?
You got a Twitch. You got an Insta.
I guess you're right. I guess I can plug my Twitch. So I have been occasionally every week or two, every Friday, doing Twitch streams of me getting high and talking about weird shit.
Yeah.
So. Well, for me, and these are things that I legitimately have interest in. So UFOs, aliens, ghosts, conspiracy theories, but just having fun with it. And that is on twitch.tv, 6orbs, spelled out, SIXORBS. But I guess if you like that kind of shit and you like watching me struggle to read a Wikipedia while way too high, then have at it.
I will say it is a pretty fun time. I've dropped in on those a couple of times, and they're good stuff.
Yeah, it's essentially a visual podcast. It was just me talking. If any of you happen to be familiar with the late Art Bell, that's what I take the inspiration from anyway. And if you don't know who Art Bell is, just look him up. He was a radio host. For I think like 3 decades for sure, and he died a couple years ago. But he took it. It wasn't him getting high. It was an old guy talking about weird stuff on the radio. He was an Alex Jones
of a previous generation.
Yeah, but not crazy in that way. But yeah, that's I guess anything I'm doing literally right now during pandemic times. I guess that'd be the only thing I can plug.
I gotcha. David, anything you want to plug?
No, not really. There will be something I'll plug on the podcast in the coming weeks from my school. We're putting together a little film challenge, but other than that, no. Go check out Thomas's stuff. He needs it more than I do.
Oh yeah. So we'll all just jump in and steal all that thunder. So come and see us on the Double Feature podcast. You can find us on In the Frame, our YouTube channel. You can also find us on our Instagram, double_feature podcast. And also I'm on the Film Club podcast. You can find us there on the same Instagram. Yada, yada, yada. Send us money. I need presents. Thank you.
We need gear for our stuff.
We need more gear.
Yeah. We need certainly more gear, because if they had more gear than us in Freak Out, then we need to certainly...
Yeah.
We need to step up our game.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well...
All right, everybody. That's the podcast. That's Too Obscure for TV. And, gentlemen, hope to see you all next time.
Thank you for having me.
The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.